to another program of InfoHub In-Depth. Building Guyana's presence in the international arena is one of the cornerstones of this coalition administration. During the month of April, Guyana was adequately represented at the Summit of the Americas and Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting.
Here's an important message from the Ministry of Finance and the Guyana Revenue Authority.
If you've never filed or paid your taxes, or have deliberately not declared your true income, and now you're worried that you'll be audited by the Guyana Revenue Authority, I have good news for you.
The Ministry of Finance has announced a tax amnesty effective January 1 to September 30, 2018.
So you can now pay all your outstanding income, property, corporate, withholding, and capital gains taxes and get right with the GRA. Visit their office or call them at 227-6060, extension 1201 or 1204 today.
Invest in your country. Pay your taxes. Paying the right amount of tax helps provide a good credit rating. A good credit rating is a requirement for getting financing.
You can use your good credit rating to get loans to expand your business, buy a house or car, or pay for your university tuition.
Take advantage of the tax amnesty and pay no interest or penalties from now to June 30.
Invest in yourself. Pay your taxes. A message from the Ministry of Finance and the Guyana Revenue Authority.
Roundabouts. Approaching a roundabout. When you approach a roundabout, you must use your indicator if you intend to turn left or right or make a U-turn at the roundabout. You must give other road users sufficient notice of your intent to turn. Entering a roundabout. When entering a roundabout, you must slow or stop to give way to any vehicle already in the roundabout. You must also continue to use your indicators if you intend to turn left or right or make a U-turn. Turning left. When turning left, you must indicate left on approach and be travelling in the left-hand lane unless there are road markings with other instructions. Stay in the left lane and exit in the left lane. Turning right. When turning right, you must indicate right on approach and be travelling in the right-hand lane unless there are road markings with other instructions. Making a U-turn. When using a roundabout to make a U-turn, you must approach in the right lane and signal right. Changing lanes in a roundabout. Drivers may change lanes in a roundabout if they wish. The usual road rules for changing lanes apply. You must use your indicator and give way to any vehicle in the lane you are entering. Going straight ahead. You don't need to signal when approaching the roundabout if you are going straight ahead. You may approach the roundabout from either the left or right lane unless there are road markings with other instructions. Exiting a roundabout. As when you exit a road, you must signal left when leaving a roundabout, if it is practical to do so, and you should stop indicating as soon as you have exited the roundabout. However, when you are travelling straight ahead on a small single-lane roundabout, it may be impractical to indicate when exiting.
The future of Guyana has never looked better. Our nation is on the cusp of a development program like never seen before. While Guyana is now emerging as an energy giant through the discovery of massive reserves of oil and natural gas, it is your government's intention that the huge benefits emerging from this will go where it matters most, to you, the people of this beloved country. There is a surge of confidence in the way Guyana is governed once again, and the level of investor interest is unprecedented. Guyana is poised to become the breadbasket of the region, and the pace at which this nation will grow through prudent fiscal management will be nothing short of impressive. But more than anything else will be the way every Guyanese, regardless of color, class, or creed, becomes a part of this historic period of national transformation, sharing in the wealth and well-being of it all as one Guyana.
We begin with a look at the 25th Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, which was attended by President David Granger and other leaders of member states. The meeting commenced on Monday, April 16, 2018 in London, United Kingdom, under the theme, Towards a Common Future. The event kicked off with the simultaneous hosting of 4 forums focusing on women, youth, people, and business.
The 2018 Youth Forum's theme of Powering Our Common Future reflects the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting theme of Towards a Common Future, and according to Chogum, illustrated the powerful potential of young people across the Commonwealth in finding solutions to complex global challenges, as well as their ability to bring forward meaningful recommendations to the Heads of Government meeting. The forum included plenary discussions and action planning breakout sessions, which were focused around Chogum's four main ideas: prosperity, security, sustainability, and fairness. Speaking for the first time in his capacity as Commonwealth Youth Ambassador, His Royal Highness Prince Harry pointed to the positive use of technology by youths for the development of their nations.
The Commonwealth is a thriving family of nations, a common link between nearly 2.5 billion people, and a defender of democracy, justice, and peace. I believe firmly that central to the Queen's success in supporting the Commonwealth has been her constant focus on not just the Prime Ministers and Presidents of member nations, but of the people themselves. From that speech in 1947 onwards, she has known that young people really make the difference. Her call to action was for her fellow young people to lead the way in making the Commonwealth a more free, more prosperous, more happy, and a more powerful influence for good in the world.
The Prince assured that in his role as a youth ambassador, he will work in support of the legacy of the Queen, his father Prince Charles and his brother Prince William, who all acknowledge that the answer to world challenges lie with the youths. Kishra Ambigapati, outgoing chairperson Commonwealth Youth Council, said the Youth Forum provides the need for youth voices in policy making.
We are still striving for institutional support, still taking action to ensure every young person has the ability and opportunity to have their voice heard. This position has also given me the opportunity to see action and endeavors of young people and youth networks all over the Commonwealth to produce real, meaningful change. And this is important as we move towards a more secure, fair, prosperous, and sustainable future. I can't tell you how inspired I am over this past 2 years learning from the work of young people.
Later in that day, Commonwealth Secretary-General Right Honourable Patricia Scotland announced the launching of a Digital Commonwealth Innovation Hub, which creates a shared digital space for the 53 member states and over 80 organizations of the Commonwealth to share ideas and unleash their innovation potential in a plethora of areas, including climate change.
On my appointment as Commonwealth Secretary-General, I had promised to put the wealth back into Commonwealth, but look to see how we could put the common back into wealth. And this included the sense of our common ideas, our common innovation. It's not just about money. It's our intellectual property. It's our human capital that we need to develop. And from the 53 member states and 87 organizations of the family and the 2.4 billion people in the Commonwealth, 60% of whom are under 30, there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of innovation, and we now get to pool it.
Assistant Secretary-General Strategy, Portfolio and Partnerships Nabil Gohir said the hub also provides the opportunity for countries to showcase their ideas, knowledge and expertise with the Commonwealth and the wider world.
A lot of data, a lot of ideas, a lot of innovation which is up there. The fourth space, other than discovery, other than delivery, is discovery. Discovery is our innovation lab. In the innovation lab, we will be incubating ideas from the Commonwealth, from young people, again from researchers, from those people who come up with interesting ideas which can have potential social impact. So we will be providing funding for that one. Then we will have an accelerator where we will be accelerating some of those projects where there's already some impact which has been achieved. And the last space in this one is our partners space. We don't want to work by ourselves. We are looking at international partners such as World Economic Forum, their fourth industrial revolution. They are part of our innovation hub. We are working with them. They'll be exchanging data with us on the cutting edge policies and regulations which they are developing.
On day 2 of the Heads of Government meeting, Tuesday, April 17, President Granger and his delegation arrived in London, where he participated in a number of bilateral talks on the sidelines of the meeting. The head of state met with Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Baroness Patricia Scotland, and British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson. Following the meetings, Minister of Foreign Affairs Carl Greenwich, who accompanied the President, said discussions with Baroness Scotland centered around environmental issues and, more importantly, the status of the Guyana-Venezuela border case presently before the International Court of Justice.
Update on Guyana's territorial controversy, together with issues ranging from Brexit to the challenges that the UK faces, environmental issues, and so forth. Cooperation that is ongoing, that is in terms of the security initiative and other areas. So that was a wide-ranging discussion, and I think quite fruitful. We undertook to try and continue cooperation on all fronts.
Also that day, Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, used the international platform of the 2018 CHOGM to reinforce the need for financing for small island and developing states, given the existential threats climate change poses for these countries. The Jamaican Prime Minister was speaking at a combined forum hosted at the Queen Elizabeth Centre.
The issue of climate change is not a philosophical one. We don't have time to indulge in defending the credibility of whether or not it is real or fake. It is an existential threat in the real sense for small island developing states, such as those in the Caribbean and in the Pacific, many of whom are part of our Commonwealth. The issue of climate change, sometimes, and now speaking from a developing small island state perspective, seems to be more talk than substance. Funding for resilience, adaptation, and mitigation cannot be treated as aid. In other words, it really makes no sense that after the event has occurred, we try to rebuild.
The variability in the weather events and the rising sea levels were described by Prime Minister Holness as real issues for the small states, pointing to the 3 Category 5 hurricanes that ripped through a number of Caribbean countries in 2017. On Wednesday, April 18, 2018, President Granger met with his Mozambique counterpart, President Felipe Nyusi, and the two leaders recommitted to strengthening bilateral relations between their nations. Mozambique, as a member of the Commonwealth, has also thrown its support behind Guyana in the fight to maintain its territorial integrity, and gratitude was expressed to that country in this regard.
We want to strengthen our ties, and I believe this is a good opportunity to renew that old friendship and to look to the future to build solidarity.
Any particular area of collaboration?
Well, in economic terms, not yet, but certainly in political terms, we are interested in ensuring that the African, Caribbean, and Pacific states, go forward into the new era as a united front. And as I said, Mozambique is a key player in Africa and also a key player in the Commonwealth.
A meeting was also held between the Guyanese leader and several prominent members of the diaspora in London, who restated their commitment to Guyana's continued development.
They love their country, but we have to build the institutions and the mechanisms to ensure that the diaspora relations with the homeland are strengthened. But we are very confident that from the conversations that we've had, that they would like to come back. In fact, they're even thinking of housing settlements, so they can come back to their homeland after they retire. So it's a very fruitful discussion, and you'll hear more about that engagement in months to come.
While in London, President Granger participated in the Malaria Summit, where he proposed a four-pronged international approach to tackling the disease that kills millions annually. Malaria remains one of the leading causes of death for communicable diseases in Guyana. Therefore, the president said the country is committed to halving the number of malaria cases and deaths by the year 2023.
This involves protecting citizens against the spread of malaria by the transfer of technologies from the richer to the poorer countries. It involves preventing and limiting vector-borne infections by the dissemination of quality health information. It involves providing improved tools for diagnosing and identifying active cases of malaria, regardless of species. And finally, by procuring high-quality anti-malarial combination treatment to ensure full cure of infected persons and to avoid drug-resistant malaria.
The London Malaria Summit, President Granger urged, must emerge with a realistic roadmap to end the global malaria pandemic. Guyana, he reiterated, is ready to join with other nations to beat malaria. His Royal Highness Prince Charles of Wales, also speaking at the summit, expressed worry that countries may underestimate the systemic threat the disease poses.
The successful achievement of the SDGs, and within them the fight against malaria, is not part of some a la carte development menu. It is the prerequisite for our survival.
The November 2017 World Malaria Report showed that progress made to fight malaria had stalled, which posed the risk of all the work done so far becoming undone, at worst a resurgence of the disease. As a result, the malaria community united to host the Malaria Summit in London under the theme, Ready to Beat Malaria. Ahead of this meeting, leaders committed to halving the number of malaria cases in their respective countries over the next 5 years. The president was part of a high-level contingent of Caribbean and other leaders who, on the margins of the 25th CHOGM, met with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to discuss possible areas of collaboration and to address challenges in the diaspora in Canada. In a brief address to the media in London, Trudeau said while there are existing good relations, the meeting will give him the opportunity to hear more from the leaders, more specifically in the context of the G7 leadership.
But there's always opportunities to do more, and I look forward to discussing that, particularly in the context of our G7 presidency, where one of the focuses is going to be on oceans and climate resilience and infrastructure and the work that we can do together to ensure that your communities, the small island and coastal states have opportunities to continue to keep their citizens successful and keep their countries and economies growing. So there's many different conversations that I look forward to having.
The formal opening ceremony of the 25th Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting began on Thursday, April 19, 2018, with the official welcome of all the heads of government, including Guyana's head of state, His Excellency David Granger, at the Buckingham Palace. This was followed by the formal arrival of the royal family and the official welcome by His Royal Highness Prince Charles of Wales, who noted that the 2018 CHOGM is symbolic of the renewed pride of the Commonwealth family.
The modern Commonwealth has a vital role to play in building bridges between our countries, fairer societies within them, and a more secure world around them. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I pray that this Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting will not only revitalise the bonds between our countries, but will also give the Commonwealth a renewed relevance to all its citizens, finding practical solutions to their problems and giving life to their aspirations.
Her Majesty the Queen declared the event open and in her speech expressed pride and satisfaction that the Commonwealth continues to grow stronger each year.
We are one of the world's great convening powers, a global association of volunteers who believe in the tangible benefits that flow from exchanging ideas and experiences and respecting each other's point of view. And we seem to be growing stronger year by year. The advantages are plain to see. An increasing emphasis on trade between our countries is helping us all to discover exciting new ways of doing business.
Following the taking of the official photograph, President Granger and other leaders participated in the official welcome hosted by the UK Prime Minister and Baroness Scotland at the St. James Palace. They then departed on foot to the Lancaster House for the first executive session, where President Granger made a presentation where he called on CHOGM to recapture the spirit of Langkawi by doing a number of things, among them the promotion of projects such as Iwokrama, the Queen's Commonwealth Canopy, the International Solar Alliance and the Blue Oceans Charter. Meanwhile, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Right Honourable Theresa May, at the opening of the executive sessions, said the meeting is taking place at a time of significant global challenges. She said that the rules-based international system, which has consistently delivered both prosperity and peace, faces threats in many forms and on many fronts.
The rules-based international system, which has consistently delivered both prosperity and peace, faces threats in many forms and on many fronts. Climate change and extreme weather continue to take lives and damage livelihoods across the Commonwealth. And the new opportunities afforded by the digital world have brought with them new risks, with our cybersecurity under attack from individuals and state actors. All these issues and more will be addressed.
CHOGM wrapped up on Friday, April 20, 2018 with a private retreat hosted at Windsor Castle for the heads of government. Leaders committed prior to the hosting of the 2018 meeting that a key aim will be to increase intra-Commonwealth trade, building on the Commonwealth advantage.
The taxes we pay provide revenue for the government to use to develop and improve our country's infrastructure and the life of all Guyanese.
If we pay our taxes, the government will be able to build more roads, schools, hospitals, bridges, and other government facilities.
The government will also be able to use those funds to pay better wages and salaries to public servants and to improve government services.
This will help to attract more investors to our country, create jobs, and reduce poverty.
Let's invest in our country. Pay your taxes.
A message from the Ministry of Finance and the Guyana Revenue Authority.
The Ministry of Finance has announced a tax amnesty effective January 1 to September 30, 2018.
This means that you can pay all your outstanding income, property, corporate, capital gains, and withholding taxes. File your taxes before June 30, 2018, and all interest and penalties will be waived, or file before September 30, 2018, and pay only 50% of the interest and penalties accrued.
Invest in your country. Pay your taxes. A message from the Ministry of Finance and the Guyana Revenue Authority.
We now look at the Summit of the Americas, where addressing corruption was the central focus for Latin American and Caribbean leaders.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Carl Greenidge represented Guyana at the summit.
Despite 183 countries having ratified the United Nations Convention Against Corruption and having secured almost universal adherence to its principles, eradication of the scourge of corruption remains a major challenge and threat to the sustainability of democratic institutions, state security, and the rule of law across the globe.
Guyana's commitment to the fight against corruption was reaffirmed by Minister Greenidge during the meeting.
The government of Guyana has taken concrete steps in the fight against corruption in an effort to build a more prosperous, safe, sustainable, and democratic society.
The minister noted that the introduction of legislation such as the State Asset Recovery Act embodies the state's anti-corruption thrust.
The Protected Disclosures Bill and Witness Protection Bill, both passed in Guyana's Parliament in January 2018, aim at combating corruption and other forms of wrongdoing by encouraging and facilitating disclosure of improper conduct in both the public and private sectors.
The world leaders recognize that corruption accounts for the loss of extensive volumes of resources through illicit financial flows. Peru's president called for concrete commitment from world leaders to fight corruption.
I call on all of us to set up a regional partnership against corruption that will be both a prevention and a dissuasion in that zero tolerance. The Lima commitment, democratic governance against corruption, will be the basis, the predicate upon which we will be strengthening our efforts in that regard. We need concrete measures to boost transparency and access to information, as well as to facilitate the participation of civil society and a follow-up on the part of government.
Minister Greenidge noted that civil society must hold governments accountable if they are to honor the Lima commitment.
I think civil society, which was a party to this, is not going to let governments escape by doing something contrary. So I think this is one of the areas in which you will find increasing pressure on governments to live within the principles that are set out here.
The summit process observed that civil society and social actors are fundamental to prevent, detect and fight corruption. The Lima Declaration was signed by all participants at the close of the summit and outlines 57 action points aimed at preventing future corruption.
Transparency is a big part of it. There are mechanisms for involving and dialoguing with civil society. There are the mechanisms covering a whole range of things: procurement, integrity commissions, looking also at declaration of income, resources and assets of politicians and so forth.
On the margins of the Summit of the Americas, Minister Greenidge held several bilateral meetings as part of strengthening Guyana's integration in the wider Latin America and Caribbean region.
On the sidelines of the summit, Guyana used the opportunity to strengthen its integration within the wider region. Minister Greenidge had bilateral meetings with the Foreign Affairs Minister of Canada and Ecuador.
I got the impression that we saw eye to eye on a lot of things. Canada has, of course, a young Prime Minister with bringing with him his own initiatives and history, and we thought that that was a great opportunity for Guyana. Meeting with Ecuador is an interesting one because we've had reasonably cordial political relations with Ecuador over the years. The major issue, of course, here is that they have changed governments, and it's just to make sure that we still have the same interests that we want to pursue.
As part of the Caribbean Community CARICOM, Guyana also participated in high-level meetings with the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who invited the past and current chair of CARICOM to the G7 summit.
For me, it was extremely important to bring forward leadership from the Caribbean, which is why we have both the current and the next president of CARICOM who are going to be joining us at the G7 leaders meeting in the extended meetings, because for me the opportunity to use Canada's voice on the world stage to bring forward issues that matter to our friends is one of the most important things in our approach to international relations. And this lunch for me is an opportunity to hear from all of you on your perspectives on how Canada can help and on what issues and how you feel we can work best as we move forward together.
5 of the CARICOM heads also had an opportunity to meet with the acting U.S. Secretary of State, John J. Sullivan. Minister Greenidge also disclosed that during the meeting, Vice President of the United States of America, Mike Pence, paid a brief courtesy call on the CARICOM leaders.
Vice President Pence had a short session with a number of Caribbean heads of delegation. First of all, to confirm his interest in things Caribbean and Latin American, and to hear a little bit about any special problems and the types of priorities that we wanted to draw to his attention. So we took advantage of that.
Guyana's presence at both these international forums will certainly aid in the country's campaign as a destination to do business. You have been watching InfoHub Extended. Do join us again next time. Goodbye.